Okay, hi and welcome back. Due to very popular demand, I was asked to make a video where I would go through all the blueprints that are in the Resident Evil mechanic recreation demo. I will actually make 3 videos on that. One, I will go through the mechanics. The second one will make a bug list and make some fixes before we ship it again and distribute the code. And third video will be dedicated to stripping the code to distributable minimum and showing how to import it into your own game. So let's start. Let's start with some absolute basics, which is the game mode and what it does. So basically every map can have a game mode that is overwriting the project general game mode, which is here at maps and modes. So you can set up a default game mode and you can also set up a default map for the editor and for the game itself when you compile and run it. And inside this game mode you have the default pawn class, the HUD class, player controller class, game state, player state, and spectator class, as well as the game instance. And this is one thing we're going to swap here in a second. But let's get back to our game mode. Our game mode doesn't really do anything in blueprints. It just changes some of the default values. So we've changed only the default pound to be BP, example Resident Evil 2 character, and we changed the HUD to one of the marketplace assets, HUD competitive shooter. And that's it. However, if we want, inside the game mode there's a lot of really cool functionalities and a lot of functions you can override. So for example, you can disable spectating mode. You can make a custom choose player start. If you do not override this function, the game when started will look for player start actor, and it will just take the array of all player start actors and take the first one and spawn everyone there. However, you can, for example, have multiple of those actors and you can make your own implementation that is picking, for example, the spawn point that is nearest to some interest point inside the game. So if you have a match that has multiple points of control, you could, for example, take in account only spawn points that are in your team's possession. Okay, so this game mode just spawns our character and doesn't really do much beside that. So once you hit play, you don't have any menu, anything, you just go directly into gameplay. So most of the mechanics are inside the character class. Let's take a look inside this guy. And that looks a bit intimidating, but it's not that bad. So let's go through the functions. Let's start with begin play. On begin play, we're doing a sequence so that we do some events in successions after other events. So let's start with the first one. It goes here. So we are turning off the component debugging mode. We can turn it on if we want. It was set up while I was working on this project. So if I want, I can turn on debugging, and now I have all those lines that are showing me exactly where I am aiming, what is my aim offset, what I am doing. And now I also see the small lag I have on the aim, so if I aim really fast, I could miss the target. So this is one of the things. And then we're doing a small delay and initialize the pose. Let's go there. Initialize pose is basically setting the base pose to pistol pro lowered. And let's take a look at the anim graph. Okay, inside the anim graph we can go into state machine. We have unarmed male, which is the Cobalt's Anim Set Pro locomotion, and this is the Cobalt Anim Set Pro pistol, well, basically done twice, but once we are using just the animations that are with the gun being lowered. You can go here. The setup of those mock-up animations is done a bit more tricky than I've done in the tutorials, but the basis is the same. So we save the idle pose because we're using it later on. We have a complete state machine for crouching and standing separately because we actually do have full crouching on those positions. Okay, when crouching, we are actually overwriting the position of the hands, because for the lowered pistol, the position that we see here, we have full animations for standing, but we don't have animations for crouching. So we're using the same crouching animations as we had before, and we are overwriting just the hands. So from the clavicle left and right with some blend depth, so it's more eased in. We're using this idle pose. Inside those state machines, you have the exact setup that I had in the tutorial, with small difference of having animations turn in place. So in order to be turning in place, we are checking if our lean, so aim offset on the y-axis between frames, is higher than 1/10 of a degree. And if it's not, then we're going back to idle. However, if we are not idle, we are skipping idle, and from turn in place we are directly going to movement. In the movement we got a typical blend space. We got two speeds of locomotion, one that is for running, one that is for walking, and it does scale on the y-axis. So if we go above this value, it will just increase the play rate, and if we go below, it will lower the play rate. Like you can see, we can use full IK on hands and legs because all of those bones are animated, and that makes the entire aim offset and animation blending so much better thanks to that. Those anim packs from Cobalt are really amazing. Okay, inside idle we're just using the idle, and inside the turn in place we're doing some slick tricks. So we're taking the idle pose, and the thing is, this idle pose, this cache, is being calculated whenever it is in use, but it is the same every time you use it. So if you use it multiple times, and let's say do it like this, it will not cost us any extra animation calculations. Let's go back to that. And it will be at the same state. So for example, if in this idle state we are running just a single frame animation and then running one of, for example, 6 random idle additive animations, it will not reset every time we plug it in and use it to blend with other animations. So we're taking the idle pose as our base, and we are blending on it just the tights. We're not blending the turn in place animation, then blending idle on top of it. We are doing the exactly opposite. And why we're doing it like this? Because we want to not move the relation between the root and the hips of the character. So when we are turning in place, the character stays exactly on the same axis against the center of the capsule of the character. That's why when we are aiming and we look at our feet, we are not moving the character in relation to the capsule, so in relation to camera. So that's why it looks so natural. And actually the legs, they might have slight foot sliding because they are being blended here on tights with a small blend depth of 1. If you set up blend depth of 0, that will means that it will blend exactly taking the blend pose, bone location and transformation, scale, everything. But if you do 1, then it's actually taking the chain of the bones. So you have 1 bone, 2 bone, 3, 4. And it will make sure that the second one, this one will be perfect, and this one will be something in between, between the base pose and the blend pose that we are aiming for. And 1 is enough. Actually 2 would be as good as well, because we want the feet to be exactly in the positions of those turn in place, and we don't care about the knee as long as it's not bending in a strange way. Okay, so here we have just looping animation of turning left and right, and we are picking if we are turning left or right based on our lean. So if our aim offset is increasing or decreasing left or right, we're turning left, or we are turning right, obviously. Now we are also taking account of our frame rate, and we are taking the value of how much did we turn this frame, take an absolute of this value, and then we are multiplying by our frame time, which is then basically multiply by 1 by 0.00125. And this value was calculated because you see this animation, it takes exactly 1 second. So in 1 second we are turning in loop 90 degrees. So a full spin 360 would take 4 seconds. So we have the lean value, which is usually a fraction of the full turn. So a very small fraction even of a single degree usually between frames. And we are doing this math just to know that if our frame rate, so let's say delta time, is 1/60, then if we do this, we'll have 4 times this animation within we'll play this animation 4 times for 360 spin. And we can actually check that. Exactly. We are back where we were aiming. So 4 steps is 360, and it doesn't matter, we can do it slowly or we can do it really fast. The only thing is that if we are doing really fast, then the animation can go at crazy values. So we are clamping it at 2, and in this case, if you turn very fast, it will not be 4 steps, but you will be turning so fast that no one will notice that you actually made less steps than it is required to turn. So I am using this for every turn in place loops as long as they are 1 second long. If they are longer or they are shorter, then I have to change this value. And that's it. That makes perfect turns in place. And that's it. Because we got 2 state machines, we have 2 inertializations. All those blends are just linear. We're not doing inertialization on them. If we are in air, we're taking the idle pose because it's being blended on something else, and that's it. Let's go back here. So this is the linked graph. So this is the linked graph. And we are using those poses exactly as we did in the tutorials. And nothing is changed here. I was going to do some Dragon IK footwork here, but yeah, we'll leave it here because we might want to do foot IK for the build, and then I will disable it because I can't ship a plugin that is from marketplace. Okay. So we're using this tag to set up the pose. Then we are setting the aim offset to look at. So if our gun is lowered, you can see that we are not really moving our hands from the location. We're just looking around with our head, and we are not spinning in place. Our legs are fixed by the IK. Unless we start aiming and we change the position. And because the aim offset is so slow, we are actually turning faster than adjusting the aim offset. That's why we swing this gun a bit too much at that point. Get lost. So the turn rotation, we're doing rotation to movement. So that means that we are turning toward the movement. So if we are looking this direction, then we look this. If we move forward, we'll turn. If we look here and look forward, we'll slowly turn and our aim offset will adjust. Okay. And then after that, we're doing the server change speed. Oh, okay, because I was testing this for a moment on multiplayer, but this is irrelevant. We might as well just set the speed itself and just ignore this. But this is like in the example of the tutorial. If you want to change speed, you need to change it locally and you need to change it on the server. You don't need to multicast that. However, you never should be allowed to do an input. But this is just, it was just dirty and fast, to be honest. You should have like a toggle of walking and running, and that's it. So the walk speed for aiming, not aiming, is 360, for aiming is 180, so half of it. So that's actually a animation blend between the running and walking, because the walking was set to 120. Focus aim. So on begin play, we go here to init pose, and we are going back to this pose whenever we release the right mouse button. And we'll go to this in a second. Let's get back to begin play. Init pose, then the second event goes here. We're making a small delay, displaying the shooter HUD using all the events that are from the shooter HUD interface. Adding a crosshair, adding a health bar, updating max health, and updating health. We are actually having a health value, so we can increase that. Let's say make it 10 instead of 5. And we will have 10 HP. Let's make it again 5. We don't need this. Okay, and save it. And then from this, we're going to the tutorial message. This is all basically the HUD. And after 5 seconds of displaying this message, we remove it. And then the last begin play is spawning a pistol. This pistol being saved as a variable called weapon that is replicated. This actually, if we were doing a multiplayer game, would go only after authority switch, but I decided to not make it multiplayer, just make it single player, because I didn't have time to play around with this project too much. I wanted to just make it as fast as I can. And we got some exposed variables here. So we got ammo count, which is the backup ammunition in the magazine. Magazine current, which is how many bullets we have loaded from the start. We can, for example, set it to 0, and if we run the game, we spawn with 80 bullets. and 0 in the magazine, so first shot will actually reload. Okay, let's go back to 12. We of course could go overboard here, so we could set 30, and even though every time we reload we go back to 12, the first magazine will be this giant. So there's no, nothing stops us from doing that. And there is the true aim. If we set it to true, this is what will happen. You will actually have true aim, and there is no aim assist for the crosshair, so you can see that the laser sight it's not really at the crosshair. So if this is on, we should hide the crosshair because it's not really. Okay, let's make it not true aim. We save it and then we attach it to virtual bone gun, and this bone is, let me take a look. It's here, so it's basically a bone between right hand and the IK hand gun. And we do that because all Cobalt Anim sets, they are using the IK hand gun and IK hand LNR properly. So this bone is being moved a bit for any attachments you would use. So any weapon, any sword, any spear or anything. And those bones are usually set perfectly to hand right and left, and they are being used for retargeting animations. So due to this setup, we can use just a single socket for any kind of weapon. So if we are running the Cobalt rifle pose, for example, and we want to attach an AK-47, we would use the exact same socket name and it would be where it should be. Let's go further. Okay, so this is the big end play. This is all we're doing. Let's go from up to down, all the events, and see where they lead us. Def. Okay, so when we call this event, find references. Okay. So when we take any damage at all, we take our HP, we reduce the damage. Obviously, zombies deal 1 damage exactly. We don't care who dealt it. We don't care about any of this stuff. We are using the damage causer. Oh yeah, to just add damage indicator. And the damage indicator is another thing from the shooter HUD, which is showing us the direction from which the damage was dealt. And so we're just reducing HP by the damage, and we're checking if our HP is 0 or less. Obviously, we could receive multiple damage in very fast succession, or we could receive more than 1 damage. So we could have a zombie that deals 3 damage and we got only 1 HP, and that would give us -2, so we can just compare to 0. If it is true, then just die, so just do this event. If it's not, then add a damage indicator that add damage feedback, and update our HUD with the new HP. We go to die. If we die, then we take our animation master component and we just start ragdoll from pelvis up with physics weight 1, and we no longer can actually do anything or move. And then we display the information on that you died and hit P to try again. And actually you can hit P button at any point to restart the level. It's not like it's blocked if you are alive, but this is something we could fix very easily in a second. Okay. So later on we'll fix that and we'll allow hitting P only when you are dead. And it doesn't do anything else. We don't have a respawn mechanic because we are resetting the entire level. And we should go to P. button. Okay, yeah, it's here. So when you hit P, you check if you have a value of completed the game. If it is true, then you load the second map. If it is false, then you load the map you are on right now. So yeah, you just reload the level and that's all you do. And then we have this notification from interface. Let me show you the interface. So I've just done an example interface that works for every examples I will be doing in this general project. So I got a fire triggered event which is just saying pushed. I got a reload weapon that doesn't do anything, so it's just an event. I got block shooting, which is just have an input of block or unblock basically. And I have this notification saying notify custom event, and it has an event name which is a name. And we are using this a lot because by using this, any class, any object can have this BPI example interface and can implement interface events like this one, and this one just push from different other objects notifications with certain name, and we have two names here. Completed game, which sets completed game to true and displays the medal and saying that yeah, you finished the game, hit P to load the next level. And now when you hit P, you actually do load the next level because completed game have changed. And then you have focus reset, and focus reset goes here. So it goes to this timeline, and what this timeline does and why I will explain after going through this in a second. And I think we got through everything here pretty much. So all we got left is firing the gun, blocking, reload, all this stuff that is here. So let's go to right mouse button. So this is our aiming, right? So we are doing some stuff on the shooter hood. So we're making a small zoom, which is 15-degree zoom on the fog. See here. We're changing the crosshair because we are zooming. It does automatically that. We're changing the pose of our animation. We are changing the way we are turning right now. And if I'm not pushing the right mouse button, left mouse button doesn't do absolutely squat, nothing. However, if I do push this button, I can shoot left mouse button. So we do the UI stuff. We having a blank scope information. We are setting the base pose on clicked with Pistol Pro. On release, it's the same as we had in event init pose. So it's the lowered gun. And then we are setting the aim offset. So if the gun is up, it is the aim at. If it is lower, it's look at. So we already went through this in the tutorials. What they do is just the IK aiming and IK look at target. And the aiming is 90 degrees with speed of 6. For example, if we do speed of aiming to 20, now that we play, catches up with the crosshair a lot faster, and when we're turning in place, he's still got this sway of the weapon, but it's a lot smaller. He's catching up a lot faster. But because of the aim assist, it doesn't matter how fast he catches up with the aim, and we can have it at 6, which just looks a lot more smooth and a lot more natural. And I kind of like this lag. So look at is even slower and it is clamped at 135 degrees. We're doing the rotation at angles, so once you hit 65 degrees you start turning, and the tolerance of stop turning is 1, the rotation speed is 190, which is half of the rotation speed when we are directional moving. So if I am having my gun lowered, I will turn very fast actually. It looks like I'm turning slow because of the aim offset, it's not catching up. But if I look at the base pose, I turn very fast. But when I am aiming, my rotation speed is not as fast. See? Okay. And then we're adjusting the speed to 180 when aiming and 360 when we're not aiming, and then we're doing this timeline. So whenever we start aiming, we play the timeline from the start. However, when we stop aiming, we are reversing from the point to which the timeline came. So if we are playing from the start, so we just pushed the button and it was just half of a second, so we are here. When we let go of the right mouse button, it will not go from this value back to 0, it will go from this point where we are right now and go back to 0. So aiming in a very fast succession, for example, could get you here, then you let go of the button, it goes here, and then you press the button again and you reset and start from the start. However, we could pretty much also go to just play and have multiple pushes of the right mouse button continue the playtime of this. So what it does, it goes in 2 seconds from 1 to 0. It's not going from 0 to 1, it's going from 1 to 0. And why is that? Let's see. So it is setting the additive alpha, which is part of our animation master component. And additive alpha is driving additive animations. So look what happens when I aim. You see, he stopped moving completely. Now he is absolutely still. His position is just one frame animation. However, if I let go, he's having those additive animation, this idle that's giving him a lot of life. And if I hold right mouse button, when I start it, he will also have some swaying and some secondary animations, but after 2 seconds, they will completely stop. See, swaying, stop. So this is why we are doing it. When we are using the true aim, which is from the barrel, the less additive animations we are running, the better the aim. But we are also reading this value later on and using it to derive damage on the projectiles from this value. And I will show that in a second. Okay, so this event is checking if our pose is aiming pose, and if it is aiming pose, then we are doing a reset of this. So we're setting additive alpha to 1, and again within 2 seconds we're lowering to 0. When this is being triggered, this is being triggered by our custom event notification, and this custom event notification is being called from the weapon to our character every time we shoot. So every time we shoot we get recoil, and this recoil is decreasing our damage. This recoil is also decreasing our accuracy, and we need to wait another 2 seconds to get the full power of our weapon. So if I aim, I wait 2 seconds, the animation stops, I will deal exactly 400 damage when I shoot him in the head. But if I shoot him again faster than within 2 seconds, the damage will be lower than that. It will be between 200 and 400. 400, 371, because I haven't waited 2 seconds. Okay, I'm terrible. So let's shoot him in the legs. It should do 200, and after that it will be between 100 and 200. 128. So every time we shoot and we get recoil, we do that. However, if our pose is with the gun lowered, then we set the alpha to 0 immediately. So we're not increasing the focus, it's just 0. So if we, for example, try to cheat by aiming, shooting, not aiming, aiming, shooting, it will not do anything. Like, it doesn't help us. There is no trick to that. Okay. Gunfire. We are taking the master component and checking if our base pose is pistol pro, because that's the only pose of animation from which we can fire the gun. We're also checking if we have shooting blocked, and this is a macro. Let's see what's inside this macro. And okay, that's not much. We're just taking weapon and reading the value shooting blocked. Okay. So if the weapon doesn't have shooting block and we are in this pose and we match both of those things, then we are setting a message to the weapon saying fire gun. So let's take a look in the weapon itself. And here's the weapon. Okay, the weapon got rotated, so it matches. So I don't have to rotate the socket, and I don't have to rotate to do anything regarding the skeleton. I don't have to do anything inside the character itself. This rotation is matching the rotation of the attachment point. So barrel aim is just an arrow that is not hidden in game. It is visible and it is scaled to 0.2, 0.2 and 25. So it's 25 meters long. And it looks like laser sight. Oh, it's not. I didn't really care for setting up actual laser sight. Then we have the flash particle and we have the casing. This entire gun is part of a weapons pack that is not the best quality, honestly, because if we use Animation Blueprint that is designed for this pistol, look what happens. The animation of idle is compensating the relation between the wrist of the character to his actual hands of the animation on the weapon itself. It should be done by moving the IK handgun bone, the IK bone that is responsible exactly for this translation inside the hands animation. But authors didn't think about that, and you know, developers are the one who are paying the price. So we're not using any animations on the gun, although we do have animations that are idle, reload, but they all have this strange transfer, and we'll have to compensate that, and I don't have time for that. So let's see our event graph. Okay, that also looks like a lot is happening, and that's because it's true. So let's go into the fire event. First of all, we are checking if our magazine count, so bullets we got left to fire, is greater than 0, and we're checking if shooting blocked, if it's not shooting block. Okay, so if we're doing it here, we actually don't have to do it in here at all. And that should still work. Let's see. Yeah, okay, we are 2 times doing the same thing. So that is fine. So this class is also using the same interface as all the objects in the entire example. Event trigger, we're not even checking if it's push or release because this is a semi-auto gun. This could be, you know, implemented differently. If that was a gun that has burst fire or it is a full auto, we would actually check if the button is hold when it is being let go, and we would probably make a timer that would um, you know, spawn bullets every, let's say, half a second until you release the trigger. But we don't have to do that. Every single click is just a single shot. So magazine count above 0, blocking, shooting blocked not. Obviously, if this is true, then we go to shooting. If it's false, then we go to reload weapon. So we can reload weapon while we have shooting blocks. So if I aim, I shoot, and then I lower my gun, I can still hit R and reload. Because not being able to shoot doesn't block us from reloading. Ah, he heard that. It doesn't block us from reloading, so we try to reload if we doesn't meet those conditions. And obviously, if we don't have bullets to reload, we won't reload, but this is handled in the event itself. So let's go first through the what happens if we do have bullets, we are not shoot blocked, we have the proper animation, and we hit the trigger. So first of all, we're taking the character reference of that we are pushing down when we are spawning the weapon. We are pushing down a reference to who have spawned this weapon. We're getting the animation master component. We're checking the additive alpha that I've set. We're checking if it's above 0.1, and based on this, we are running one of 2 montages. Let's go to this montage. So there's this shooting animation. You probably didn't notice that there are actually 2 other different animations for shooting, and then this one. So this one is being run when the additive alpha is below 0.1. So we are focused, we are aiming, and we're dealing maximum damage. Then we are controlling the recoil a lot better. However, if we are shooting straight out after aiming, we are running this animation, and it gives the player a greater sense that we were not prepared for that shoot immediately after aiming. It's a small detail, but actually making a proper game, it relies on all those little details. So we're choosing one of those animations. We're playing it as a montage because it's a montage. And inside this montage, are there any? Yeah, okay. So we have one notification that is called BP block shooting. It's a notification state. So how notify states work is that they have 3 events. One that is the beginning, second one, I will just show it. Second one that is, where is it? Where is it? It will be here, block shooting. Okay. So there's a notify begin and there is third one I am not using, which is tick. So tick, it plays on every frame of the animation that is being run while we already triggered the notify begin and we haven't triggered notify end. The beauty of notification states is that if they get triggered and notify begin starts, this event hits, it will always trigger the notify end. So if this shooting animation starts, and for example, we do cancel all montages at this point, this will play when this animation ends immediately. And it is very important because it gives you the comfort that if you do something and you know you have to close it, for example, make trace for melee weapon and you don't want to trace forever for that weapon, you have certainly that the second event will trigger. So what we are doing here, on begin, we're taking the owner of this mesh component and we're doing block shooting. And on end, we're unblocking shooting, and that's it. And if we go here, we see that we have this interface call, and we are just pushing a message with the exact same value to our weapon. So because this is being triggered on the mesh of the character, then the character gets the message from the interface, and the character is pushing this message down to the weapon, and weapon is setting the shooting blocked or not. Then we are spawning a projectile. The base for this projectile is the Qubit Studio projectile, which is part of this absolutely amazing pack called Ballistics VFX, and we're using particles, sounds, everything from this pack, basically the entire projectile, and yeah, all those hit reactions and occasional ricochets. Rainbow, flash, water. Yeah. So we're doing this, but we made a copy of this projectile and modified it. And the modification is here. Like normally, when it does a collision, it does all those strange things on impact. And it's applying radial damage with fall off. And we don't want radial damage, we want exact point damage, and we don't want the fall off of this damage in a small radius. It was done probably because the author wanted those projectiles to damage destructible a bit more, but we don't have any destructibles and we don't care for them. So we're doing point damage and we're taking the focus that we on spawn pushed forward. So you see we're taking the value from the component directly, and while we are pushing it as a variable, not reading it here. If we read it here, we'll read the value of the moment that the projectile hits the target, not the moment that the projectile was spawned. So when this projectile hits the target moving at certain speed, the focus might already reset and we will deal less damage than we should. And we don't have any damage type, so basically what we do is we're taking 2 minus focus, and then we are multiplying it by 100. So the base damage is between 100 and 200 because the focus, when we are not focused, so the additive animation is 1. So 2 minus 1 is 1, 1 times 100 is 100, obviously. And the best value for most damage focus is 0, so 2 minus 0 times 100, 200, okay. And that's it, we haven't changed anything else. So I can distribute this projectile and all this awesomeness that is here with the project, so just so you know what you have to change to make it work. And you just have to add this and this. Those are the two variables I've added, and I made them public and I made them expose on spawn, which is very important because that makes them visible here. You have damage causer and focus. Okay. After we spawn the projectile, we do the flash. So there's just a link to this effect and we hit reset, so it activates automatically and it goes only once. We get sound, so there is an slot for that. We take the location and rotation. We could pretty much as well take the transform, and we just run this sound. Those sounds are not set up in any particular way. They're just, that's it. You just got an attenuation, sound, and modulation. That's it. And I haven't set them up. They are part of the ballistic VFX as well. So I'm using the. Okay, this sound is actually quite cooler. Let's use this one. Let's see. Yeah, that's a lot better. Gives more power to it. And we're doing spawn sound attached because we want the sound to have attenuation, the gun attenuation. And if we just play sound add location, I guess we wouldn't have that option. Play sound add location. Yeah, so when you play sound add location, oh, you still get attenuation. But the difference is that when you play sound add location, if the sound cue was more complex, so it got some variables that you can set up, some some floats, some booleans, all that stuff like you have with footsteps. You couldn't tap into them, you couldn't change them at all. But here, when you're doing spawn sound attached, you have actual audio component, and on that audio component you can do set, well, basically anything. You can pause, pitch multiplier, float parameter, boolean parameter, integer parameter, and you can do stuff even though it is auto destroy, so it's placed once and it destroys itself, and that's it. Garbage collector takes care of the rest, but you can do a lot of setup before it disappears. Reduce ammo, obviously you remove one ammunition from the clip, and that never gets you below 0 because at every shot we are doing this check. We are then updating, we are adding recoil to the HUD, we are updating the ammunition on the HUD, we're reading the new value. We are activating the casing particle ejector, which is also part of the ballistics FX. Yeah. We're doing the camera shake, also from the ballistics FX. And we're doing a make noise for the AI to hear. And this is actually 1. Okay. So if you use this, then the gun is making the noise. If not, then the character is making the noise. The character is making the noise because the character is going to be the target. And then we are doing the notify custom notification to our character reference saying focus reset. And what it does, we already went through it. Okay, so this is shooting. It looks intimidating, but it's actually straightforward. If we don't have ammunition, we are counting all the bullets that we have. So the ammo count, that is spare ammunition, and magazine count. And if it is 0, then we're saying that, whoops, sorry, you don't have any more bullets. You need to hit P to restart the level, and you're basically dead even though you're not dead. There's no way to complete the game at this point. Try again. And that's it we do here. Just a second. Okay. And on tick, we're checking if we have the true aim. If it is true, then we don't do anything and the gun is attached to the bone. And actually the additive animation is driving Let me get here. So why we're doing this additive animation that is slowing down? We're doing that because the animation drives the aim right now. So it's harder to aim from the start, but if you hold the mouse button, the aim stabilizes. Okay, no. However, so we don't have to do anything. The animation is driving the aim. However, if we don't use the true aim and we're doing this aim assist, then on tick we're checking if the animation master component is valid. If it is valid, then we're taking the barrel aim, so this laser sight, and we are setting the look at rotation to the Okay, so we're taking the animation master component, we're taking the look at location, which is a value of the exact camera forward ray trace, and we're getting the barrel aim, so the arrow, and we're looking for our rotation, and when we find this look at rotation, we're setting it for the barrel. So when we are spawning the projectile, see that we are taking the rotation of the barrel aim, so we're spawning from the fire FX slot, which is basically here. So the bullet goes straight from the barrel as it should, but it doesn't go in straight line. It's actually copying the rotation of this arrow. So that's why we have it like this. And get word rotation. So this is the aim assist. Every frame is just trying to cheat a little. We went through fire. Let's go to... Okay, so we're showing the barrel. We're setting the visible based on the true aim. If we don't have the true aim, we are setting this. And we should also do it like this. That if true aim is true, get HUD manager, remove crosshair. Okay, so, and make a delay, because we are doing a delay when spawning the UI. So let's make a small, let's 0.06 delay here as well. And let's see if this will hide the crosshair when we do true aim. Yeah, so now it's hiding the crosshair. You can actually use the arrow, the laser to do aim. So that was an easy fix. And just add it. Oh, to show laser. Yeah, and turn it off. Okay. So we're doing that on begin play. The second thing we're doing on begin play is we're also doing HUD stuff. So we're adding the weapon, updating the weapon bar, updating the ammo icon, updating ammunition count, and updating max ammunition. So we're just displaying all this here. So we got the pistol name, we got the icon for the ammo, and we got 12 to 8, and that's it. This is on begin play. Then we go to the reload event, and this reload event is being triggered here as well, because this is an interface call, and you can call interface functions inside the owner of those functions, because why wouldn't you? So you can do this reload weapon, and you can do this reload weapon from a call. Okay, and we're checking if we can reload. We can reload if our magazine count is below 12, so we don't have a full magazine, and our spare ammunition is above 0. Yeah, so if both of those is true, then we can try to reload. However, we could have ammo count of 0 and still got bullets in the magazine, but yeah, that's okay. We can't reload because we don't have any more bullets. We're playing the reload montage. We also could make different montage based on if we have bullet in the chambers, it's completely empty, but I didn't focus on that here. Okay, here we are checking if our current magazine, how many bullets are we missing. So we know that we are missing some number of bullets that will be a minus value, because if this is 12, then minus 12 is 0. If this is, I don't know, 8, then our reloading count is 4. So we need 4 bullets to reload. So then we go into the branch that is checking if this value, okay, and this goes here and this goes here. Yeah, so if this value times minus 1, so from minus 4 it means 4, we need plus 4 bullets. If our ammo count, so our spare bullets in our backpack, is equal or more of 4. If it is, then we know that we can just take our current magazine, add take our spare bullets, so ammo count, add this value, so let's say it's minus 4, so remove 4 bullets from it, and then we can set the current magazine to 12, because we already checked that we can make a full reload. So this is full reload, and that's it. This is the full reload. This is the reload when our ammunition is not letting us do a full reload. So for example, we got 2 bullets in the magazine and 5 bullets spare in the backpack. That means that we can load into the new magazine no more than 5 plus 2, which is 7. So this is exactly what we are doing. We know that we are below the max magazine count, so we're just taking all the bullets we have left and we are loading all the bullets to the current magazine, and we know for certain that there is no bullets left, so we can just set it to 0 automatically. And we update the HUD, and that's it. So we're just updating both ammunition counts. And the block shooting that is being called from the character, that is being called from the interface call, from the animation notification, it goes here, and just setting the shooting block. So when the notification state begins, it's blocking shooting just in case, and when it ends, it allows us to shoot again. And you can actually see that you can start shooting before the entire animation of the reload ends. So okay, now it ended, but I can shoot, reload, and I can shoot, you see, before it ended. Because shooting block on the reload animation gives us this small space that we can do really fast reload and without any focus do the minimum damage of very quick shooting just after the reload. That was intentional. Okay, I think we went through everything that goes down to the gun. It just does a reload, aim assist, fire event, which just looks big but it's not, and updating HUD, and that's it. There's nothing more to it. And we got exposed ammo count, magazine current, reloading count is an internal value, it doesn't have to be instance editable nor spawn on expose on spawn. Shooting blocked, which is instance, oh, I mean, this should be, but shooting block is also instance editable, but it's not exposed on spawn. True aim is exposed on spawn because it sets up a lot of things. Character reference is exposed on spawn. And that's it, that's the entire weapon. Okay. I think we went through everything here. Oh, hitting escape just goes to event called quit game, and it just goes reference to quit instead of going to background. It's not for specific players, so it's for the player 0 automatically. And we went through receiving damage. I think that's everything for the character. That's everything for the gun. We already went through the projectile as well, so all we have left is the zombie. Let's open him up. We went through the game mode, blocking, shooting, blocked, interface, we done that. And those two notifications. Those two notifications and this interface, they are not in this particular folder because they will be used in every example, because I can always add functions that are per example, and simply other example blueprints will not use this function, and this is fine. Not every function of an interface has to be implemented on certain actors. Actually, one of the designs you do is that you have an interface event and, for example, activate, and you can call it on any actor, but some actors will do activations which will be opening of a chest, other actors will do activation which will be opening of a door, other actor will be a trigger of the lights, and other actor will be a pickup of a weapon. And another actor that does implement the interface doesn't do anything on activation because it just doesn't have activation, or it might have activation that requires certain additional triggers that would have to take place. So when you're doing activation, I would actually, let's even do a function, activate, and we would do an actor object reference who is activating, and output would be a boolean, which is activate or deactivate, right? So if you implement this in any actor, you will know who is trying to trigger, so you can call messages, functions, and get variables, get components of whoever is activating, and then do certain stuff inside the actor itself. Let's go through those two. They are very simple. So this is the custom event notify state. It also got just begin and end, and what it does, it takes the owner, checks if it implements the interface. If it does implement the interface, then it just sends this event name begin, which is exposed on spawn. So every time you put it inside any animation, you can just name this event however you like, just type the name. But this message can be triggered from blueprints directly, it can be triggered from notifications, it can be triggered from anything. So this has a start and end, so it got two names, and this notification just got single event, and it's just a normal notification, not a notification state. And I am using those as well for reloading, for footsteps, for different things. I just changed the name of the notification, and based on that name, it does different things. Okay, let's go to the zombie. Okay, let's go with begin play. That's interesting. Okay, that's better. So 0. We copied from the character, so it says debug to none, and it doesn't need this. Then we go to this event, which is initiation of the AI, call it shitty AI because it is. You shouldn't do AI through blueprints. I do it all the time when I'm doing a very fast project, like 1, 2, 3 days. But if you're making an actual game, never do it like this. It's not reliable and it's not very good for performance. And then we're doing small delay and setting the turn rotation to movement. Turn start angle should be not 0.115 but 115. Turn tolerance 35, rotation speed 150. Let's make it even, or maybe make it even smaller. Aim offset 135, very slow. Look at, yeah, of course. Set base pose, Zombie Pro. And Zombie Pro, let's go. We are actually using the same anim graph as our main guy. It is exactly the same. It's not a copy or anything. And we're just going to Zombie Pro. And in Zombie Pro, we're going here. And here we have standing idle. We don't do any additive animations. And in standing, we have idle, turn in place, moving. Moving is just a single direction blend space, which goes from the speed of 25 to 60, and that's it. And it doesn't allow strafe walking. Turn in place, I had to actually make those animations myself. I have to take the turn in place animations and trim them and put them into a loop, so copying the first frame as the last frame. So we got those looping animations, and I have to change the value because this animation is not exactly 1 second. So this is compensating for the difference between the playtime of this turn and 1 second. Okay. So we're just setting this pose and that's it. The speed of the zombie is already set up here. Max walk speed is just 25, so the minimum. And once the zombie got a target, it is being moved to 60, which is the maximum of the speed. And I didn't have to trigger it through an event. I just set it up here on the component itself. However, this is being triggered by events because it's setting up multiple values, and it's just faster to do that than set them up by hand. We'll go into this AI in a moment. Let's go through other stuff. So there is a ragdoll. We are ragdolling when we die. So this event is being called after we die. Okay, event point damage. That's why we are doing point damage with our projectile, because what we want to do is we want to do hit indicator, and then we want to do some stuff. And what that stuff is 0. We're going here. So we're taking the point damage and we're checking what is the bone name of the point damage. So the mesh is the one who's getting hit, because he's the only one whose collision preset allows us to get hit by the projectile. And we are checking the name of the bone because the capsule is ignoring the projectiles. And if it is head, we're doing a critical hit. If it is calf, calf, foot, foot, we're doing this stagger effect that is pushing the character backwards. And default, so any other bone except of those, is just normal damage. So how does it work? When we go to default, normal damage, we're taking it from here, so we're taking directly from here. We're taking the hit location as well, and the normal damage goes here. We're spawning the floating combat text. That's a macro. It's taking the damage. It's taking the location of the hit point, and we're just displaying hit point, and that's it. We are reducing the HP. All zombies got HP. It's state 0, but it's... so, I am setting the random health between 500 and 900 on the HP on construction script, and the reason this is happening on construction script instead of begin play is that whenever I place a zombie in the world and I move him or do anything to the blueprint state as is, so even move him 1 centimeter to the left or right, he will reinitiate the construction script. So those zombies that I placed on the map, all of them have a random value of HP. If we go into details, we can see that, for example, this guy got 786 HP, and this guy got 733 HP, and this guy got 756, 720, 760. They're all pretty similar. However, I know that there are few guys who have really high HP. Come on. Like this guy got 840, so almost maximum. This guy got 700, not even. This guy got almost 900, so almost the maximum. And as long as I don't move them, they all will have the same HP on every playthrough. So if I want to do, you know, any comparison of how many bullets you used or how fast did you finish the level, I couldn't do it if the random HP was randomized on begin play, because each playthrough would be different. However, if it's on construction script, each playthrough is the same, however every zombie is different. So let's go back here. We are reducing the HP. That's the same functionality as always. So we just take HP minus the damage, save HP, and then we're checking if someone is alive. If the HP is above 0, check death event. Check death event is checking if someone is dead. He's dead if HP is below 0. And then you do die. If you die, you are doing the function killed everything. So we are checking if there are no more enemies on the map, so we actually cleared the map. If yes or not, it doesn't matter. We go forward, we do ragdoll start, then we are clearing the timer. This is the AI timer that is something functional for our AI that we'll discuss in a moment. We're playing the death sound, and then after 15 seconds we are destroying the actor altogether, and we're doing the killed everything second check. Like this one got enemies on map 0, this got enemies on map 1. So when the last zombie dies, he is checking how many zombies are left on the map. If there is only one zombie, so the one that just died, this guy, 1, it means you killed everything. Even though he didn't disappear yet, he's still an actor, but he's the last one, then you won the game. However, if, for example, there was a second zombie that was on the ground, dead, but this delay 15 didn't hit the mark yet and it wasn't destroyed, and there are actually 2 zombies on the map and both of them are dead. In this case, when the actor is being destroyed, before it's getting destroyed, it's doing this killed everything event. And actually what we should do is switch those 2 events like this, because there's a possibility that we destroy the actor and we no longer can run a function on this actor unless it runs before the garbage collector grabs it. But yeah, that shouldn't work the other way around. You should, if you're doing destroy actor, you shouldn't do anything after it. Let's go back to damage. So this is the standard damage. The critical damage is similar. So we're also doing combat text. We're multiplying the damage that we got from the bullet times 2. So a critical shot is times 2. We're doing the same thing, reduce HP. I made it a function so that it's easier not to, to reproduce the code, to use it multiple times. Check def, exactly the same thing, exactly the same things for leg shot. However, they got separate execution strings. not only because of this damage multiplication, but because those two, the headshot and the leg shot, they go directly to staggering. So we are checking if our zombie is playing any montage. So that also takes for account the attacking montage. So we can't stagger an enemy that is attacking. And if he is alive, obviously. And if he is not playing the montage and oh, this is strange. So playing montage and HP should be, because we're going for the true, is playing any montage. Okay, false. So that probably doesn't really matter because okay, so I have also find the reason why HP above 0, so he's alive and is playing montage. If both of them is true, then don't do anything, but if he's playing montage and he's dead, then it's false. Okay, so it should be a bit different. So if he's playing montage and it should be or and not above but below or equal 0. So if he's playing montage or he's dead, and if any of those two hits yes, that means we go to true. So we shouldn't do anything because he's already playing a montage or he's dead, so we don't care. But if it's a false, you go to multigate, and this is one of my favorite nodes when it comes down to do basically anything. On the multigate, you can go on random exit in a random loop, and you can start with one that you pick, so you can start with index 0 or 2, whatever you like. Or you can not go random and just execute them one after another in a loop. But I will just do it random. And we have 3 montages that are just root motion montages, pushing this guy backward and just staggering for a moment. And I don't think they do anything except that. They are on ability full body, and they have a custom, oh yeah, they got a custom notification state that says stagger and at the end even unstagger. And then that's it. So let's find the stagger. Okay, so we got the custom notification, and this custom notification got stagger, unstagger, and sound attack. And on stagger we set stagger, on unstagger we unset stagger, obviously, and then we play a sound if we are staggered. And the reason that our zombies were making sounds on the ground when they were already dead and ragdolling was because of this, but I already fixed it, and I'm pretty sure that they will stop making sounds when shot dead. Okay, and the third one, sound attack. This is from the attack animations. We'll go here in a moment. Let's get back here. So yeah, that's it. That is what's happening when an enemy is being dealt damage. Check def we already seen. And die event, yeah, I already explained this one. So this is our win condition. We'll go into it in a moment. For now, let's go back here. and this custom event. The last one is sound attack. So all the attack animations, all the root motion attacks, when they are playing on every second sweep, so basically 2 times a second for most of the attacks, he just does this custom event notification with the sound attack, and the sound attack is not only doing the sound of the attack, it's actually doing the damage. So when he's attacking, on the animations there are triggers that makes him make a sound on the sound component, which is at his head. So it's a 3D sound. We, instead of having one QE that is randomizing between few sound fonts, I know this is the proper way to set it up. I've just used a multi-gate again that is in random loop. And from there, we are just playing the audio once. And obviously it restarts every time he gets this attack, but he doesn't do it that often, so it doesn't break. And then he does damage to the player if the distance to player is less than 130. So they start doing the animation of the attacks when they are 100 units from the player, so exactly 1 meter, and this is from the center of the capsule to the center of the capsule. So actually the both characters next to each other, there's like a well, actually 16 centimeters gap between them, because this is 44 centimeters wide. The character, our player character, is also 44 centimeters wide. So we got 6 centimeters. Oh, okay, 6 not 8. So 6 centimeters on both sides. So this is 12. So the gap is 12 centimeters. So the max range is actually 42 centimeters. So if it is true, then we know that the player is in range, and we're doing this node get player pawn. We could do as well get player player character, and that would do exactly the same, doesn't matter, and we deal 1 damage of no type. The controller of this pawn is the instigator, and the causer is the pawn itself. And that's it. And the applied damage is an interface that is built into Unreal Engine, and it does what it does. We already went through it in the tutorials. So this is the entire graph, but we still got 2 things to talk about. One is killed everything, and this is something we'll have to redo before shipping this code for players. So it is checking, we got this input, enemies on map, and it is 1 or 0 based on where we trigger it. We are checking if for all actors that are our zombie actor, which is terrible, we should never use the node get all actors of class. That's why we're redoing this. We're checking how much there is left, and remember that dead zombies, they exist for another 15 seconds. So if we have 2 zombies that are dead on the map, they both will be counted, so it will say actually 2. We're checking if this is exactly the value we put here. If it is true, then we are sending the notification completed game, and this is a message that we are using on our custom notifications, and we can also use it just as a message of an interface call on any actor. We don't have to cast it to our character, we just do this, and we know that we have completed the game, so we can move on to the second map. And we are playing sound 2D, it doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be spatialized, it's just this wind sound. And yeah, that's it for this event. We'll redo it in a second. And let's go to the event graph, and let's look into our terrible AI. And so now this min and max is the randomized time that is being randomized on begin play. So this is different per every game through. How fast this particular one zombie is making decisions. And this is the entire AI. So where is the initiate here? Okay. So this is the input to this entire graph. We initiate, we take a random flow between this 3 and 10. We do a timer by event, and then we set this AI timer that we are invalidating when the AI is dead. If the AI is dead, he's no longer making decisions, he's no longer querying the environment, and this is just wasted effort on the CPU and GPU for him to do anything. Initial delay is 0, so he's making his first decision immediately after triggering that. And the event is here, and the event is called make decision. It's checking first of all if it has a target. If it does have a target, then he's checking if the target, so our player, is less than 100. If it is less than 100, then attack, obviously. And attack is just checking if we are already attacking or playing other montage. So we cannot attack while we're getting staggered. So if we shoot a zombie in the foot and he gets staggered and we run next to him and we actually run so close that he could attack us, he will not be able to attack us because he's still being staggered. So if he's not staggered and he's not attacking, he's playing no montage, then we do my favorite multigate and we just play one of the 4 montages. And those montages are just packed with my custom event that's saying sound attack. And as we know, it's not only sound attack, it's actual attack. But I haven't changed the name of the event because I would have to change it in every single one of those notifications. And I would have to also change it in the main BP. So we're doing one of those attacks and the BP is taking care of the rest through the notification. Let's go back to the decision. If we cannot attack, so he's not in range, then move to player. We go to move to player and we will actually change that right now. We'll go AI move to or even simple move to actor. So we'll take get AI controller and we'll get player pawn as the goal, and we'll set our movement speed because we now have a target, we're moving aggressively, to 60. And we no longer need this. This is one of the things I bought, so spline movement, AI spline movement. I will have to disable all the plugins anyway for the export, so I am removing this one and recompiling. And this is the only time I am using this? No, here's another one. So simple move to actor, or this is location. Yeah, this is location. Simple move to location. This is the goal. Get AI controller, and this is the controller. Thank you. And we can delete this one and go here. So when he is moving to random position, he's also making a grounding sound, a sound that is not as loud, so you need to be nearby to hear it, but he's doing that to actually alarm the player and being able to you know, just make us more aware of what's happening around us. So this event got an input that is a radius that he's looking for the random location to move to, but we'll go there soon. We're going back to the main decision making. So input, start event, event has target. If it has a target, then move to target. If the target is close enough, then attack. If it doesn't have a target, then move to random position in 6 meters radius. So this is here, 6 meters, get random location. In navigable radius, this is a standard function. Nothing I had to make myself, it's already done. There's a filter of, you can you can have multiple navigation meshes, so you can use a different navigation data. So you can have, for example, one navigation mesh that is only for walking characters, and there is another one that is for swimming ones, and third navigation would be for the flyers. So in example in StarCraft, you have two different navigation spaces, one for flyers and one for units that are on the ground. And the flyers actually are still using the some sort of AI navigation. Okay. And let's just check real fast if we haven't broken the game completely. These guys still move around. If I go close to them, will they attack or not? We have the stagger while attacking. He continues to attack. He dies. So this is also something we need to fix real fast. So attack. Is playing montage false. Okay. And just real fast. Oh, come on. Is that false? Okay. And on def. Okay, check def, die. On die, we're going to do one more thing. We're going to take mesh. Oh, come on. No. It's going to be get anim instance, and from the anim instance, montage stop. And if we do not specify the montage to stop in blend down time 0.25, if we do not specify the montage we want to stop, it means it will stop all and every montage in every slot that we got. So now when they are attacking and we kill them, come on. Okay, they stopped attacking and they stopped playing montages. But he's doing the death sound again after getting shot. No. Where is he playing the sound on? Getting hit. Damage, apply force, yeah. But he's doing the sound of dying. So if he's dead, die. Stop montage, kill everything rather than play sound. Okay. Do once. We don't need to retrigger the delay. We don't need to retrigger this or that. We don't need to retrigger this. We can retrigger everything else because it doesn't really matter. And now when he's dead, he shouldn't make any more noises. Oh, okay, and then I forgot that. So when someone gets hit and the zombie gets damaged, we went through this execution and we went through all this execution, but I forgot to go back that we do two more things. One, on a very small delay, we add force, and we're doing this delay because we want to give him a chance to trigger everything, including the ragdoll, and the initiation of the ragdoll is at least 1 frame of gameplay. So we're making a small delay, let him fall down gently, and then we are applying radial force in the origin where he actually got hit. So if he got hit in the head, there will be a radial force applied only to the mesh, nothing else. So it's not, it won't make carton boxes and cans flying, or won't affect particles. It will affect only the target it got hit with certain strength at small radius, and it will just move him around. So if the final shot is, for example, in the leg, this happens. Okay, and I found another bug that we created actually now, and that bug makes us reload the gun when we are shooting if the shooting is blocked, and that's no good. Okay, so okay, now if I shoot fast, I shouldn't be able to reload the gun. Okay, yeah, now reloading works as expected, and we are shooting at the maximum speed that we are allowed by our animation application. I guess at some point I've actually triggered shooting twice, but that's because probably our notification has a 1 frame delay, because it was just put into the shooting animation very sloppy. And then that's also an easy fix, but I won't do it right now. It's not that much relevant, to be honest. So let's get back to our zombie guy. We just, oh, come on. Because it's a fast PC. So let's go back to our AI. We went through simple move to actor, doesn't work for some reason, so let's do move to let's go with move to actor, but yeah, a task, and this and go location is controller. Goal actor is player pawn, and should I do something more here? I don't think so. Logically use pathfinding, yes. Stop of overlap, yes. No, actually no, because we might get away too fast. Acceptance radius is 10. It should be less than 12. Okay. So this is move to player. So now it should work when he sees us. He should at least walk to us. He shouldn't walk to another position because it's still broken. Simple move to location. Ah, okay. That might be it. Oops. That would be silly of me if I forgot that simple trick. Okay, there are also location. The problem wasn't the node itself, it was that our controller wasn't it was you know, no reference. It got AI controller of nothing, and it has to take AI controller of this particular actor, so we can do again simple move to actor. So yeah, this controller to this goal, and that's it, and we don't need to set up anything in it. Actually, this node it just works. Don't worry about it. Okay, we went through this, so let's go to pound sensing. So on C pawn, because it got pound senses, which is just hearing and view. The view is, I think, 45 degrees, so it's actually 90 cone in front of him. And you can see that it's being drawn from the half height of the capsule. So if you change the capsule half height, I mean not the half height, it's the ice level. So base eye height 64. So 64 from the middle, from the arrow, is exactly the point that pound sensing is believing that this actor as a capsule has its eyes at. And we could move it up or down, but we cannot move it forward and backward, and we cannot unfortunately attach this sensing component to, for example, head of the actor and move it with the animations, but that doesn't matter. When he sees any pawn in this range that we specified here at this angle, it actually only senses players, so he ignores other pawns, but just in case when he sees a pawn, he's checking if this pawn is the player pawn, although without this gate that would work as well. And then we're doing what we're doing here. So there's a focus player. This focus player is being called when the actor is being damaged. So when we go back to event graph, if we go back here, when we apply force, there's also a third execution that says focus player, and it goes here. So if we see player 0 pound, or we hear player 0 pound, or we hit this trigger, which is focus player event, we saying that yes, it has a target, and this is being used in the decision making, has target. So if it has target, then we are setting focus on the AI controller. So we're getting AI controller. So we're getting controller of this pawn, and we are basically getting AI controller of this controller, which is the same as if we would do this and go for self. This will work as well. Set focus on new focus is our obviously player pawn 0. So this is when they are attacking, they are using the not the target but the look at aim offset. So I will let him attack, and look, he's turning up to 135 degrees in my direction, and that looks so much better if he was just doing the animation for Okay. Let's go back to zombie. So we are setting focus. We are then doing only once, because you know you can see the pawn on tick basically every moment. You can hear noise multiple times. So only once when a zombie spots us, he's doing this sound, which is unique only for this event, and I wanted it to be like this, you know, gameplay wise. We're making a small delay of 0.5 because he can see us or hear us from any direction, from any distance. Well, distance is specified in pound sensing, but you know what I mean. He doesn't have to be next to us. And then we're doing move to player, and the move to player is this simple move to actor that we already used, and it is part of this event execution, as well as pound sensing. So our AI can hear, it can see, and to do any of those events, it's simple as, because those are event dispatchers, you just click on the component, you click right click, do add event, and there are two existing events, and those are event dispatchers. This is how they see, how they look like when you use them like this, but you could as well just make a reference and then do bind event on cpown and make a custom event, and this is exactly the same as this exactly. And if we do custom event, you will see that it has already event arcs, which is the same as here. We just can change the name of this event, and we can use this event directly from anywhere in the blueprint. Just call on it, and we don't have to do a custom event here and do this entire thing all together. But we would have to bind this event on begin play, and it's actually easier to do like this, tap into event dispatchers, because on multiplayer the begin play, it triggers not on the actual begin of the play, but when the character or any actor comes into the relevancy range. So when you go to replication, you have this net call distance square, and if you go beyond certain distance from some player that you're replicating to, and then this player comes near you again, the begin play will actually retrigger. And a lot of stuff that we are doing constantly, like doing this AI trees, will just stop working when we are not in the relevancy distance. But we could obviously also do always relevant, which you should never do, but that's for another episode. And yeah, this is the entire Blueprints AI. It's very simple, just roams around. If he sees actor, hears actor, got damaged by the actor, he gets this actor as a target, and then he follows him, and if he gets close to him, he's attacking, and if when he's attacking, he's trying to deal damage. That's it. So that's pretty much everything when it comes down to this project. We already reworked some of the blueprints and functionalities of this project, which will make it work a lot better. But I've made one terrible mistake, because I really wanted to close this project in only 3 days. So to do 2 maps and to do this pseudo hard mode, I just made a copy of this character, and I called him character underscore hard, and I made another game mode that uses this as default, and I just tweaked some stuff inside this other character. But all the work we just done here now would have to be redone in this other character as well, which is just bollocks. So we'll delete that, and we will rework the win condition function, and yeah, we'll make it easier to work with when we export this blueprints to an outside project. So when it comes down to functionality of this project, of those blueprints, this is everything. So you got just one character for the enemy, the AI is included, you got one weapon, one projectile, you got game mode that just sets up everything for this map, and obviously in the Level blueprint, we got absolutely nothing. You should never use the level blueprint unless you absolutely have to for something. I honestly don't know for what, but you know, maybe something regard the navigation or something that is, I don't really know. Or maybe if you have arguments that you do when loading a map and you want to use those arguments here. I don't really know. I tend not to use level blueprints. So all the setup is here. There's just two extra notification and notification state, one interface for all of the actors, and there's no real magic to it. It took me 3 days to set up everything because I didn't have a plan. I didn't know exactly what I am aiming for. I was just playing Resident Evil 2 and looking like, oh, that was cool. Let's do that. And this is what I came with. So thanks for watching. I will now cut the video. It's probably very long already, and do some rework of the character itself and this easy and hard mode in a separate video. And in a third video I will already behind the scenes clean up the project, export everything, trim down everything that I cannot share from this full project, so all the marketplace assets will be swapped with just gray boxes. I will try to save as much assets as possible when it comes down to visuals, and I will swap those keyboard mockup animations with the free animation pack, and I will do my best to make it look as good as possible. So you can download the project, and from the download you can take those blueprints and use them in a different setting. I would absolutely love to see what you will do with it. You know, just see some examples of those zombies, this player character in a different map, different settings, and different game mode. Thank you very much for watching, and see you all guys soon.